Hey guys, how's it going? I hope everything is going fantastic. We had some technical difficulties on Friday, but we're back today because I didn't want to leave you guys without this episode. We had an interesting conversation off the screen, which we will bring here. But again, I'm going to let our guest introduce herself and tell you a little bit of her story. We're going to ask some questions and then we're going to react to a video. So I will let you take the floor and go ahead and tell our audience about yourself.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, Mike. Hello, everyone. My name is Christelle. I recently started a YouTube channel called Aquarian Crossing, and I am just looking to bring some insight and knowledge that I've acquired and I continue to acquire about how to be the best version of yourself. And that can also relate to relationships because we are human beings and we interact with people every day. And it can be intimate relationships as well. So it's all part and parcel. And I have the pleasure of speaking with Mike today about femininity, as I have had my own journey of struggling with my femininity and being in a more masculine energy. And now that I am more feminine, I find I can move more with grace as a woman.
See, and that's the thing. What traits of the femininity? I know that me and you talked about, what topic should we talk about? Why did you want to talk about this one? Why specifically traits of a feminine woman?
Well, I believe that especially in these times, a lot of women are struggling what it means to be to be feminine. They tend to carry more masculine traits as they're competing in a man's world. However, there is power in being in your femininity, and there are certain traits that we're going to highlight that are very beneficial in your personal relationships, in your intimate relationships, and your own personal relationship as a female.
I like that. I like that. So I guess the audience is curious because I'm kind of curious too. How did you start operating more in the feminine? That's the question I'm going to ask, because most women operate, as you said, it's a man's world. So then a lot of times women feel like they have to operate more in their masculine. So what was that journey like for you personally?
Yeah, sure. So, I think what happened is I came to realize, okay, I was very depressed for a really long time. And I kind of woke up one day and said, hey, I want to know more about who I am and understand the world. And that led me down to understanding what feminine and masculine, because I was unhappy because I was holding more masculine energy and it was kind of not beneficial. It wasn't serving me. So when I understood more what the difference is between what is masculine and femininity, then I knew what I don't want so that I could move more towards what I do want. And as a woman, there's a lot of power if you understand what being feminine is and what that represents and hone in on that, and it helps elevate you.
Interesting. So, like as you said, you held more masculine energy and it made you depressed. But what did that masculine energy look like for you, and how did it affect the relationships around you?
Well, yeah, you're more like combative and you're more aggressive. And, you like in my own intimate relationship, it's almost like you don't feel like you belong. You don't know where your place is.
Okay.
Right? You don't know where your place is, and you are kind of more standoffish with your partner because you're kind of competing with them to lead. I know better, or I know more than you, or what ends up happening as well is that you then shy away of taking your role. So you're not doing either, right? You're trying to do the guy, but then you're avoiding the role that you should be doing. So you're kind of not doing anything. So you end up being more, you basically tend to be more masculine, because a feminine, like, to be in your femininity, it still requires you to take action. Like, you have to do it, just being there. You know, you gotta how you make decisions, what kind of actions you take. If you're masculinity, if you're being more masculine or if you're being more feminine, will determine how that looks and how it unfolds.
I like that answer. I have a follow-up question though. You talk about the roles. What are the roles?
Feminine.
So feminine, masculine.
Yeah. So usually feminine is like you follow and you receive, right? You're supportive,
Okay.
right? And the masculine is usually they lead. Because, okay, if you want to go down to like more of what the energy represent,
Yes.
usually the masculine is a straight line, so it has direction. So you can think of it more that way. It's more like analytical. It's going in a straight line. As a feminine is a circle, and it's more it holds, right? So if you want to break it into those concepts, but you can bring it. You could take a general concept and then build on top of it and say, okay, these would be the traits, or these would be some of the elements that represent, the circle and the line.
So I love that you said that men are more logical and women
Yes.
are more emotional, from my
Yes.
level of understanding.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
But a lot of times, and again, this is why we're going to break this down because of the miscommunication. A lot of guys, and I've made this mistake plenty of times, try to logic explain to women, and it literally goes past their heads, because to them, they hear your logic, but they can't receive it because it doesn't align with the emotion.
Yeah, they have to feel it. So you'd have to explain in a way that they're feeling what you're explaining to them, not just trying to analytically explain it, because they won't understand that. And just vice versa, if a girl tries to explain their emotions to a guy, they won't understand that. So both in a way to bridge that and kind of meet in the middle.
See, my thing is this, and I'm learning this as a man, is never try to logic explain to a woman. Don't do it. Penetrate her with love. When she's feeling some type of way, either moody or feeling like her emotions are not making sense to her, or her emotions are like the ocean, they're up and they're down. The only thing you could do as a man is literally penetrate her with love. Let her know that she's still loved. Penetrate her with love. But if she doesn't want to be penetrated with love, then you got a whole nother problem.
Well, then there's nothing you can do, because she has to be open to receiving it.
Exactly. But even in those states, like whatever state she's in, like the ocean, she always has to be willing to be penetrated with love. And some women can't handle that. Even in their different states, they're going through things in life. Their emotions are up and down. There are women, and this is where I think there's power in femininity, because even though their emotions are always shifting all the time, they still know how to be penetrated with love.
Yeah.
And I think that for me is femininity, because a woman who doesn't know how to be penetrated with love when her emotions are literally like the ocean, and doesn't know how to, that's a bad ocean, but but can't be penetrated with love. There's a whole, now we have to pull back the layer and look at something else. Because no, go ahead.
I'm thinking as you're talking.
Because that's what I read from one of my books called The Way of the Superior Man.
Yeah.
Don't walk away from a woman when she gets like that. When she gets like that, a lot of guys are saying, I don't want to talk to you when you're like this. I don't want to deal with you. You know what I mean? They withdraw love. And that's a scary thing for a woman to when a man withdraws love, right?
Yes.
So, and no one's saying to tolerate the behavior, but what they're saying is penetrate her with love.
Yes.
Pick her up, hug her.
Use love as you wield love as your sword to penetrate her, right? Like,
exactly. That's what you do, and you penetrate her with love. But like, again, if she's resistant, that's a whole nother problem, because true femininity wants to always be penetrated. all the
Yes,
time.
because they're always they always want to receive.
Exactly. They're
Yes.
always receiving. So even
Yes.
in those states,
Mm.
if she's in a moody state, if she's in whatever state, frustration, doesn't know where her emotions are, as we've talked about off camera, her emotions are left, right, teetering. The feminine always wants to be penetrated by love. And
Yeah.
that's what the man provides.
So, but then the question is, what does love look like?
Well, it depends on who it is you're dealing with, because everyone
Yeah.
has their own interpretations.
Of
And
love.
that's the problem with coming down with a consensus, because everyone's going to say, well, my meaning is this and my meaning is that. We all know what love is.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
We all know what it is. So trying to come up with our own definitions is kind of pointless.
Yeah.
We all know that love is selfless. We know this.
Mm-hmm.
That's the baseline. Love is selfless. Love doesn't ask for love. Love just loves. Period.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And there's no judgment either.
And there's no judgment. It's just love. So again, we have to stop trying to web out of this is what I think it means. No, there's a general consensus.
So what I'm understanding you're saying is based on woman, like a woman, if there's conflict, the woman would prefer to be loving, just be there without having to do anything. You'll get a better, not a better result, but that could be an action.
You'll get a better outcome.
Yes.
Because if she's
You're
moody,
supporting them.
Yeah, because if she's moody
yes.
and you say, well, I'm going to withdraw presence, I'm going to come talk to you in an hour or two, I'm going to withdraw presence.
Mm-hmm.
The feminine, because again, what femininity is vulnerability.
Mm-hmm.
So when the feminine is vulnerable and you withdraw presence,
mm-hmm.
now she gets worried because she's like, I'm feeling this way. And what he's doing is withdrawing presence.
Yes, which is what she wants, which is to receive.
Exactly. So if we were to use it in a metaphorical type way, it's like back in the day when, I guess we could use like caveman days or whatever. If the man withdrawed himself, the woman was vulnerable at home by herself with the kids.
Yes.
Right. So again, that's the thing women always fear, is when a man withdraws presence.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why in the book of The Way Superior Man, they say, don't withdraw presence, maximize your presence. Doesn't mean be needy, doesn't mean do all these other things. But what you do is when she's in that way, you penetrate her with love. You let her know, you still hug her, you still kiss her, you still make her feel penetrated with that, because she'll say, wow, like my emotions are all over the place. And I can still receive this man's love.
I feel supported is basically.
Yeah, exactly. I can still receive this man's love.
Mm-hmm.
Now, again, there's healthier ways to do that, because, again, depending on who you're dealing with in the situation, I don't want guys to say, well, Michael said on the podcast to penetrate her with love, and then here you are blowing up her phone. No. What I am saying is that with a woman who's reciprocative, when you try to penetrate her with love, she reciprocates it back and says, well, yeah, I feel this way, but thank you for being here. Thank you for supporting me. Thank you for still making me feel loved. That's okay. But you blowing up her phone and there's no reciprocation, that's a no.
Well, you can go both extreme. You go missing, where you withdraw and you're like, you disappear.
Yeah.
Or you're overbearing and then you're trying to blow up the phone, right?
Yeah, exactly. You're trying to force a puzzle piece.
And those two you don't want to do. Yeah.
Exactly. You're trying to force a puzzle piece that doesn't fit. So
yes.
That's how I kind of view that. So
no, I love your perspective. It's fantastic.
I try. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna break down a video. And I love breaking down videos there, you know what I mean? Because what we try to do is try to find videos relevant to the conversation.
Why her?
And we found one.
Yes.
And it's by our favorite speaker, Stefan Speaks. And the video is called 7 Reasons Why Masculine Men Love Feminine Women. So what we're going to do is break down each talking point. I'm going to share my view. Christelle's going to share her view.
Yes.
And you know what I mean? It's going to be a wonderful video. It's only 36 minutes, so hopefully you guys can hang in there.
Yep.
Before I continue, please like, share, subscribe to the video, guys. You know, as I said, Christelle's information is all down below, her Facebook, her Instagram. You guys can go follow her, you know, get coaching, whatever it is you need. It's all down below. So let's get into today's video.
So, Mike, are you going to do part by part? Like,
Yeah, we're gonna break it down because there's like 7 traits.
Yeah.
So we're gonna break down like each trait
Okay.
and spread it out.
Very good. Thank you.
Some of you may also argue that a lot of men today aren't masculine. They're not exuding that energy, which has made it more difficult for women to walk in their feminine energy. And speaking of feminine energy, I would hope most of you would agree, especially if you've been watching my previous videos, that the average man also wants a feminine woman. So we have this world where men want feminine women, women want masculine men, but we're all falling kind of short. Well, not all, but a lot are falling short in walking in their true energy that not only is desirable to the opposite sex, but enhances your own personal life. So where I'm going with this is the fact that men, and more specifically masculine men, because if you agree with me that you wanted a masculine man, then we have to focus on, well, what is that man mainly attracted to? What is he drawn to and why? And masculine men almost always will be drawn to a feminine woman. Now, there's going to always be caveats. We have to understand that we're not talking about who a man will have sex with, all right? Because who a man will lay down with is not dependent completely on their energy. It's more dependent on their looks and how those looks are attractive to that specific man. So it's going to vary what those looks are, right? But when we're talking about being serious, marriage, long-term commitment, most men would tell you that, yes, they want a feminine woman. And again, specifically talking about masculine men. So I want to break down the why. Why? What's the reasons? What's the qualities that's really drawing them to that feminine woman? And I want you to be willing to embrace this. So for some of you who feel a little annoyed with the whole feminine masculine conversation, I want you to take a deep breath. All right? I want you to clear your mind. I want you to open your heart and your spirit up and just listen. Remember, I always speak with love and to help you achieve a better quality of life. Now, before I get into the 7 reasons why masculine men love feminine women, I want a couple principles I need to go over with you. The first thing is, do not confuse feminine woman with traditional woman. All right. I recently spoke at an event, the Dear Future Wife podcast, Dear Future Wifey podcast, held an event. It was a big old panel. And one of the ladies on the panel, Jessie, she talked about how a lot of men that she meets, when they talk about they want a feminine woman, they're looking for someone who's going to cook, clean, be subservient to them, a bunch of other stuff. But there was a highlight on the duties and behavior of that woman. Now, unfortunately, I didn't get to fully break everything down during the panel. But what I wanted to say, and I will say to you now, is traditional and feminine are 2 different things. Meaning the behaviors of cooking, cleaning, housewife, all that stuff, those are traditional values. A woman could walk fully in her traditional values and not be feminine. There are, I've sat down with tons of couples, tons of married couples, tons of people who've gotten divorced, and I've seen tons of examples of women who did all those things, but were still very hard, very rough, very negative. There was no feminine energy coming out of them, but they did and embraced the duties of a traditional wife. On the flip side, you can have a woman who does none of that. She doesn't touch the stove. She doesn't touch a mop. She does no kind of domestication in the household and could be the most feminine woman out there. Because feminine energy, or we can even say feminine spirit, it's about what's within coming out. It's about that aura. It's about how you speak. It's about how you carry yourself. It's completely separate from very specific behaviors, at least when it comes to things like cooking, cleaning, so on and so forth. So a lot of women have confused those two things, and it's distorted a lot of people's ability to embrace and understand what we're talking about when we say feminine. So that's the first thing. Now, the second.
Yes.
Sure that you want to say something.
Oh, no, I find that I love that he distinguished the two, that they're not the same.
I love that too. And I want to point out that the feminine's not what you do, it's who you are. And I love that he broke that down. It's from the inside out, how you talk, how you move with grace. Because as he said, there's women that do all their traditional things, the cooking, the cleaning, and all those other things, but they got negative attitudes. They've got, they don't have the feminine energy. But then there's women that don't do any of the cooking and cleaning, but are as feminine as hell.
Yes. Yes. Like they're soft-spoken. They just have this sweetness about them that comes out.
Exactly. Exactly. And see, I learned something new today too. We can't just always base the feminine off of doing. We have to base it off of being.
Yes. Yes. That speaks volume.
So that's why he said, don't get it twisted. Focus on who she is as a person instead of what she does.
Yeah. So like focus on the energy she carries.
Yeah. How she carries
all the duties
herself.
that she's doing. Huh?
Like how she carries herself, like a gentle spirit, soft-spoken, doesn't talk over you, lets you express yourself, creates an environment for you to do that. Like all of those things are a part of femininity. So
maternal, like like sweet with kids, loving around children. Yes.
Exactly. So I wanted to point that out. I thought it was a great point. It's not part of the 7, but I wanted to point it out.
Yes.
Principle I need to let you know about. This is my personal thing that I came up with, that this is the way that I see it, that I want to share with you. I believe that for a lot of women, when you're walking in your masculine, you are trying to survive. When you are walking in your feminine, you are trying to thrive. All right. Now, I kind of got this from this concept of this guy who was, I think he was a bodybuilder or nutritionist. I can't remember. I think he was a bodybuilder. And he said, when you're exercising and trying to lose weight, you're either going to put your body in survive mode or thrive mode. And a lot of times the things that people are doing, crash diets, going all intense with certain practices, they're pushing their body into survive mode. And it's a very miserable process. Now, they may still get results to a certain extent, but it's very miserable. And most people don't make it to the end because of how miserable it is. But there is an approach you can take that puts your body in thrive mode that will still get you the result, but you'll be happier. It'll be a much better process, okay? So I view that the same when it comes to masculine and feminine energy for a lot of women. Not that there aren't going to be moments where you tap into your masculine, just as I believe there are going to be moments and times where men have to tap into their feminine. But when you are walking in your masculine as your dominant energy, you are constantly in survival mode. And by constantly being in survival mode, you are constantly stressing the body, stressing your mind out. Understand that, like, when you're in survival mode, your cortisol levels are going up. Now, if you're not familiar with cortisol, those are stress. That's raising the stress levels. And that's throwing your whole body out of whack in a lot of ways. Now, I'm not a doctor, so, you can check some of that medical lingo with someone else, but I'm sharing with you my understanding of things. But yes, I believe that it's survive versus thrive. And so when I am trying to encourage you to embrace femininity and walk more in it, is because I'm trying to push you into thrive mode. I'm trying to push you into the process where you will find more peace, more happiness, better results. I know it can be difficult for many of you, but you just have to trust me. There's a process, and if you're willing to embrace that process, you're gonna see the results. All right, so I gave you those 2 principles that I had to make sure we talked about, but let's get into the 7 reasons.
So before I continue, I think that's a very, very interesting point that he brought up. Women in their masculine or they're more like they're in their masculine more than they are in their feminine, like they operate more on that side, they are trying to survive.
Mm-hmm. Well, you know, it kind of ties into what I was saying, you know, when I'm when I was depressed, even if you're like an anxious person, if you're suffering from depression as a female, if you're suffering from depression or anxiety, this is exactly what he's talking about. You're trying to survive. So it's very hard for you to be in your feminine energy or to be feminine.
I agree, because like I've spoken
Yeah.
to women where they've gone on dates with guys and literally the check would just sit on the table. Literally. And like they had no idea who was gonna pay, and they've gotten used to this. So now it's like always like survival mode. Like, okay, I have to pay the bill, I have to do this, and I have to do that. And then you never get the relaxed side of her.
Mm-hmm.
You never, and that's part of the femininity. You never get the and I love using this word, surrendering side.
Mm-hmm. But if the person is exhibiting or being in that state of, you know, like what you're talking about, that means that that person then person would then need to do personal work.
They would need to
be in a more loving space, so that they're not they're in a thriving mode, so that they can really, you know, hone in on that that feminine aspect of themselves.
Well, as he said, we have both, but it's like, what do you operate the most in?
Mm-hmm.
And that's the thing. And women don't like to hear this. Women who are very masculine, and we know what those are when they're not soft spoken, they're very disagreeable, they're very loud. They're very what?
Obnoxious.
Obnoxious.
Yes.
They're always trying to prove their point, trying to be right all the time.
Yes. Very argumentative.
Yeah, argumentative. It pushes men away.
Because a woman that's really in her feminine energy would be way more slick and sly. You know, they would do things a little bit more covert. And
well, I actually want to raise up 2 points to what you said. All those traits that we brought up right there about women in their masculine, and we brought them up. Why should a man want to provide and protect for that? If you're loud, you're obnoxious, you're disagreeable, you're argumentative, you cut the guy off, you don't respect, why should he have to provide and protect for that? Mm-hmm. That's a bad deal. Now, what you said on the other point, what I also want to cover, and this is where I want to really help men and also help women. A lot of times, women's femininity, not all, you have to make sure it's genuine femininity, because some women only have femininity and it's conditional.
It's calculated, is what you're trying to say.
It's conditional.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's an act. It's an act.
Yes, it's an act.
It's like a mask. Like, I'll be feminine for you if you do X, Y, and Z. It's not genuine. It's not just genuine femininity.
You could even say that's manipulative.
Can be, to get what they want. Can be.
Yeah. Right.
But that's what I'm saying. You guys, this is why you have to make sure that she's genuinely feminine. Mm-hmm. Like how she shows up and her character, the genuineness of it, because sometimes it's only conditional. So I always like to say is look at somebody when they get angry and you'll see if it's conditional or not. Mm-hmm. Because you could still be upset with someone and still love them. But if it's conditional femininity, then the masculine energy comes out.
Yeah, exactly. And what words they choose to say and how they say it.
Exactly.
The body language and all of that will definitely reveal where it stems from.
If she's still angry, can she still be feminine?
Mm-hmm. Well, you can be angry. But
you see what I'm saying? Like mm-hmm. Most women, well, some can be angry with you, but still feminine, mm-hmm. still gentle, still loving, still respectful, and still get their point across. Mm-hmm. But the ones that are that where it's conditional femininity, when stuff hits the fan, they are masculine. Mm-hmm. Donkey Kong comes out.
Watch out. They're going to trample all over you.
Donkey Kong comes out, and then you end up having to jump over some barrels.
Yes. 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 And then you're like, hey, is this like, am I dating a dude? Like you think you're gonna duke it out,
Exactly.
right?
And that's why I use the Donkey Kong reference, because again, this is why you want the gentle, like authentic femininity, because like, let's say things happen in a relationship, chaos, does she turn into Donkey Kong, start beating her chest? And then next thing you know, you're having to jump over barrels and do all these other things and avoid fireballs to not get burned.
Absolutely. Because if she was a feminine, she'd be like, oh, let me help nurse you and take care of you,
Even if she was angry with you and you
Yes,
guys
she'd
had a
still be supportive.
disagreement, yeah, she would still say, look, I don't like what you're doing, or can we do it this way? Or, hey, like, I don't really like what you said. She would never lose her gentleness
Yes.
in the midst of chaos.
Yes. She would make her statement and make her point known without necessarily in an masculine aggressive with a masculine aggression. Yes.
Exactly. So we had to point that out.
Yes.
But yeah, he's gonna get into the 7 points,
Yeah, he's
and
great.
we're gonna have fun with them.
Yes.
Reasons why masculine men love feminine women. And reason number one is because he feels valued with a feminine woman. And I want to add to that, he has a role with her. So I'm sure many of you have seen, heard, or even experienced situations where if a man finds you to be very independent, he starts to say like, well, you don't need me here. Like he starts to feel like he doesn't have any place in your life. And that can make some men feel inadequate, or it can make some men feel like, well, I'm not needed here. Let me go somewhere where I'm going to be more appreciated and valued. All right. And the reality is that when a woman is walking more in her feminine, she is allowing that man to live in the role of man, of being more of a leader, of providing for her, of pouring into her. All right. Things that are not about being her dictator or her ruler, but being a man who wants to love, protect, cherish, uplift, all these positive things. Now, I understand that the concern for so many women is that when you allow some men to do that, they try to take advantage. And instead, they use your femininity as a chance to abuse you, right? But that is an example of you dealing with the wrong man, not of femininity being a problem, all right? I always say femininity is not the issue. Your selection process may be, all right? Who you are entertaining. And once you see a man does not honor your femininity, then that is your clear flag, red flag, or your clear sign that you don't need to deal with him. But don't stop being feminine. But back to the point, the masculine man, you have to understand that a man who is walking in his masculine, he is a man who has learned how to stand on his own 2 feet. He is a man who has learned how to handle his business. All right. He is going to be more assertive. So for him to walk into your life and he can't implement the skills that he has accomplished in life, he can't add anything to you. It just takes away from the ability to come together and bond. Now, if you're struggling with why should that be important, if you're independent, that should be less of a burden on him. Look at it like this. A lot of women, when they have a child, all right, and that child is still of an age where she has to take care of that child and pour into that child, women love that stage, okay? Because here is a chance to pour love into this person, to receive love back, to feel appreciated as a mother, all these things. Once the child gets old enough to where they become very independent, if they do, because some children stay up under their mother for Lord knows how long, if not forever. But if that child detaches and becomes more independent, you will see where a lot of women start to feel some kind of way. Because now it's like the child is not letting you love them. You want to be able to do for them and pour into them, and now they're not giving that opportunity. Not that you expect to do all the things you used to do, but something, right? Because that's how we all in a relationship, that in any relationship that we are dealing with someone that we love, we want to bring value to them. That's just the reality of it, all right? Users want to take, love wants to give. And so when there's real love there, that's what you want to do. So when that man is not able to, and he has no role in your life, that can cause conflict. But when he's with a feminine woman, it's so much easier for her to slide into a position that allows him to step up and be the man that he wants to be for the woman he truly cares about. All right, now.
Okay, so he dropped a mouthful. I'm going to let our guest say something.
About the valued. Yeah, it was just making me think about, men want to be, from like my personal experience and like what I've uncovered over time is like men want to, we're saying like they want to lead. We can value them. He was talking about skills. We value them by, men will do things the way with the skills that they have. For women to value them is to support them in the way that they're able to do it. So it's less about the woman dictating how it needs to be done. It's just about supporting them in the capacity that the man can do it and to trust that they would deliver. And I think that there's a lot of value from coming from a woman if she's able to do that. Because I think what ends up happening is a lot of people say, well, it has to be done this way for him to support, right? But the woman can value the man by saying, I trust him.
Surrendering.
Yes, I trust him. I'm to do it in his own way, and the way he's going to do it's going to be the right way for him and for us.
And I love that. And I know you don't like that word surrendering because every time I say it, you always smile.
Either way, yes, it could mean I like it or you don't like it, but yes.
But it's just the way I say it, you're like,
yes.
I like what he said though about men wanting to feel needed.
Yes. Yes.
And a lot of women don't understand that because they're like, well, why did he choose the other girl over me?
Well, being needy is not the same as being needed.
No, but you know what I mean, though.
Yeah.
Like women will get mad and say, well, why did he choose? The other girl makes him feel needed.
Yes.
Right? Like the other girl makes him feel like this man has a place in my life.
Yes. Yeah. And that's what he talks about, feeling valued. Is
exactly.
That they feel needed.
And I love the fact that he said when a woman's too independent, that means she's going to be very less resistant. Like she's going to be very resistant.
Mm-hmm.
And you see, and I've talked about this on my podcast many times.
Yeah.
Men don't want women that are overly resistant. That's why they don't like independent women. It's not that men hate them. They don't like the qualities that come with them. And the qualities that come with them is a huge amount of resistance.
Mm-hmm. Well, you could, I can understand how that works together, because if you say I'm independent, then you're holding the opposing side that like, well, because I'm independent, I can rely on myself. Why would I need to rely on you? Because I'm independent.
Bingo.
Right? So
Bingo.
I could be resistance. Just in the word independent, it says a lot.
Well, that's right? The qualities that come
Yes.
with independent women. Now,
Yes.
if I met a woman and she said I'm interdependent, my ears perk up. Because my ears perk up, because that tells me, and especially if the actions follow through, that she wants to work with a man instead of being independent from a man.
Yes. So you're basically saying she's her own person, and it's not that she's her own person, not trying to be apart from the person. She's her own individual, but she's trying to work
with a person
and interconnect. Yes. Instead of being dependent or independent.
Because
right?
If you're screaming independent, who are you trying to be independent from? That's the I don't need anybody. Everybody needs somebody.
Well, if you don't need anybody, why are you dating then?
Exactly. Thank you. I wish I had a buzzer button. Thank you. If you don't need anybody, why are you dating?
Yes. Because clearly you want to be with somebody. So part of the rules of being in a relationship is that there's, You know, you're going to have to, there has to be giving and receiving somewhere.
Well, that's what he said. So
Yeah.
I like to put it this way. Men like to pour, women like to receive. It's a good balance of things. And that's the thing. If you are resistant and you're less surrendering, and I love that he pointed this out about how some men will abuse your femininity, and you chose wrong. It's not that your femininity is bad. You chose wrong. Own that. But at the end of the day, do that with the right men. That's what this comes down to. It's like in a boat. If anyone's ever been in a canoe, if you guys are not paddling in the same direction, and one person's paddling this way and you're paddling that way, you go nowhere. You paddle in a circle and you look silly. So the fact is, like, he brought up an interesting thing about men and how men like to lead, and men have tuition. When let's use that example. The man is in the canoe and he's saying, do you want to come in here and paddle with me? And she says, yes, I do. And then you work in interdependence to paddle the relationship to greater things, marriage, kids, all these other things. But you can't do that, as he said, if you don't make the man feel needed.
Yeah, and if you, the more that you can make the man feel needed, the more he'll deliver.
Boom. Right. Exactly. The more he will deliver and show up for you.
Yeah.
That's an
and I think point. Part of it too, people are waiting for the person for it to come to them, but they don't realize that they can do it the other way, where through their action, their words, they can encourage the other person to bring it their way, right? They're like, when a man does it to me, then I'll reciprocate, right? Then I'll value him. Well,
the chasing thing.
Value him first. Be the first, and then he'll be like, hey, maybe I want to deliver more.
I agree.
So not being in a position that you're waiting for it, but initiating it.
Agreed. I liked it. Interesting point. Now we're going to jump on to point number 2.
Reason number 2 why masculine men love feminine women is because she knows how to be playful and flirtatious. All right. So one of the things that you got to understand with a lot of men is we don't want a woman who's so serious all the time, so uptight. You can't make a joke with. Everything is, she's going to get sensitive about. It creates a situation where the man has to walk on eggshells. It makes things very uncomfortable. All right. And it just creates tension in the relationship. Now, listen, let's be real. I think most of you don't want a guy who's going to be serious all the time either. All right. So, and a lot of these things I'm talking about can go both ways in principle. Okay. But let's just stay focused on the feminine woman and why that masculine man loves that kind of a woman. So yes, being able to be playful, flirtatious, and understand with flirtatious. Here's the big reason why flirtatious is so important, especially to a masculine man. Flirting expresses desire. Flirting expresses attraction. These are 2 very important things to men, all right? And when you understand that the average man does not get compliments on a regular. See, you as a woman, you are more likely, I know every woman's not the same, but you are more likely to have lived life, have gotten random compliments from this stranger, that stranger, online, offline, all these things, all right? To the point where some of you are like, yo, I don't even want all this attention all the time. Men are deprived of that, all right? The average man, and here's the thing, it's not even, some of y'all might say, well, maybe he just doesn't look that good. No, that's not what it is. Even very good-looking men sometimes don't get complimented often because a lot of women may think, well, I don't want to get his head too big. He probably hears this from every woman. All this stuff, they play hard. And so he doesn't receive that energy from a woman all the time. So when he's with a feminine woman who, again, in femininity, women are able to be more vulnerable. And to me, I believe that flirting, affection is a more vulnerable act. and you're comfortable doing it when you learn to walk in your feminine energy. So that flirtation, that affection, that touch, that look, that smile, that, being playful and sexy with him, the man loves that. If he's attracted to you, he is typically going to love that. Of course, there's always exceptions to the rule. There may be some men who are ultra conservative and they don't want none of that stuff. I would argue that there may be something wrong there, okay? But that's a whole different discussion. Typically, though, men love it. So when you're able to tap into that playfulness and willingness to flirt, it's very effective and makes you a lot more desirable. All right, so let's.
Anything you want to add?
No, I love it. I love his one of this point. I think that a lot of people kind of in a longer term relationship kind of lose touch on this point of keeping it fun, like.
Well, I love what you mentioned about being playful and flirtatious and fun and not to, because I'm telling you, the most time or most attracted I've been to women is when they were that way.
Yes. When
they were so playful, they were so flirtatious. When they would say, "Oh, I'm not done kissing you," or just like all of those things, because as he said, men don't get those levels of compliments as much as women do. So a lot of times when a man gets those compliments from his girl, that's like the jet fuel to his jetpack.
Yeah, it's like that when you're saying it makes him feel like a superhero.
It does, because his girl looks at him a certain way. She's playful with him. She touches him. She gives him affection. That burning desire, Christelle.
Yeah, and then further promotes it further promotes him wanting to be in his masculinity. It's like you're fueling it, right?
Well, see, that's why I brought it up, because it makes a man feel desired.
Mm-hmm.
And me and her joke around about it because she knows the type of relationship that it is I'm looking for. And that's that burning desire.
Yes.
So that's why the joke is so funny. But a woman that can have that burning desire for you and that flirtatiousness, as he said, it makes a man feel good about himself. You know what I mean? Now, the moments are not always going to be perfect. Sometimes you guys will have conflict. But the fact when your woman's playful with you, flirtatious, making you feel needed, making you feel wanted, goes a long way, ladies.
Yeah, and it makes him feel important, right?
Exactly. It makes him feel important. It makes him feel like my girl's not afraid to kiss me or hug me or show me affection.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
And you're showing that they're the most important person too.
Exactly. And he said the thing about vulnerability. When she's in that state, she's her most vulnerable. And a man can receive that and, again, magnify it, make her feel wanted and needed. And that's why I think that point is so important. But I'm glad that he brought it up, because a lot of men are deprived of that. They're in relationships where their girls don't make them feel where they're not flirtatious and they're not fun and they're always serious all the time, and are just like, what am I doing here?
Mm-hmm. Well, it's kind of a snowball effect, right? Like the more you don't do it, the more it's not happening. Like you almost have to become conscious of it and make an effort of it as a woman.
Exactly.
Say, sometimes, maybe I'm not in the mood is not what I'm saying, but you got to find a way to be lighthearted and flirt, like find opportunities and moments to express that.
Exactly.
And
to
if
make
the guy's
your partner
feeling down,
it gives them security within the relationship too.
Yeah.
Because again, and this is what I like that he's talking about. We're not talking about sex. That right there, what he's talking about is intimacy.
Yeah. And it's usually most present when you start dating. It fades over time. Yeah. But I think it's a really good point to remember as a female,
that men need that type of intimacy too, that it's not always just sexual. It's sometimes just the playfulness, the flirtiness. That type of intimacy is just as much as important to men as it is to women.
Because people could seem it's trivial, but the smallest things usually matter the most to people. and it's a small gesture that can go a long way.
I like it. I like it.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. That's a good point. Now we're going on to point number 3.
Okay.
Let's keep this going. So the third reason why masculine men love feminine women is because feminine women tend to put more effort into their presentation. Okay. So listen, I ain't here to judge none of y'all. Okay. And I'm not here to tell you how you need to specifically look or specifically dress or whatever. But I think we all can agree that some women put more effort than others. All right. And effort can equate to better presentation, a higher level of being attractive. Let me mention this. This is kind of a side note, but it kind of goes with this. I was just looking at a TikTok earlier and I forgot what it was about, but basically it was just pointing out the fact that the difference between some of the women you see online getting all this attention and men flocking to them is just hair, makeup, presentation. Like when that stuff comes off, they're not that much different than the next woman who's not doing those things. It's just that the presentation catches the attention of the man and it draws them in. I also think that the argument can be made that a lot of men, like in today's world of makeup and filters and all these extra layers that women are being able to add to their presentation online, right? And makeup being in person, men understand or have accepted there's going to be a deviation a lot of times from makeup version to non-makeup version. And as long as that deviation isn't like completely drastic, right? They're not sweating it too much. What I'm getting at here is that just the willingness to better present yourself can open doors, and as long as not a drastic change after that, can help keep them in. Now, of course, it's more than just looks and presentation, but I think we can all agree that plays a huge role. Let's just be adults about this. It plays a huge role. Whether some may think it should or shouldn't, it does. All right. So the feminine woman tends to be a woman who is more willing to do that. It also, I'm always bringing up examples from funny shows I watch. It reminds me of, I watch a lot of South Park, okay? Some of y'all may not be familiar with that show, but there was an episode where the kids were, like, there was a girl in person, she wasn't cute, one of the kids at school, and then she goes, takes these pictures, puts them on her social media, and like the guy, he's standing next to the girl as she looks normal, but he's showing off the picture of her online. And it's like, that's enough for him to want to be with her because at least she can look like that. You know what I'm saying? It's the fact that she can even look like that that's like, okay, yeah, I'm going to talk to her. So it's just funny because I do kind of see that play out in a lot of people's lives where to them, they just want to know their woman can look good when it's time to really look good, can step up the game when it's time to step up the game. All right. But they don't expect her to be on that 24/7. Some men make, again, exceptions to every rule, but many are just saying, can she at least achieve that? So again, going back to the main point, the feminine woman is someone who's showing she can. And shoot, sometimes the makeup and everything comes off and the woman looks even better to the man. So it's a plus because now like, okay, she knows how to dress up and put effort into herself and she looks amazing natural. That's like a win-win. So it is something that definitely plays into why masculine men are drawn to feminine women. All right, so now.
I'm guessing there's something you want to say because you're smiling about something.
Oh, yeah, I smile all the time. Yeah. No, but men are usually attracted by their, they're very drawn in by their eyes, right? About what they see. They want to see something attractive, so usually that's why you need to dress well and present yourself.
And I wanted to point that out. Dressing well doesn't mean dressing like a hooch.
No, dressing well just means
presentable,
having a good presentation. It's not
exactly
about dressing down.
But that's the thing,
of
because there's a lot of stigma that looks don't matter and that the person should love me for me, even if I'm busted down with mustard with sweatpants and mustard stains on my sweats. The person should just love me anyways. He'll love you, but he might not be attracted to you.
Yes.
Those are totally two different things that I know that me and Christelle have covered before. He'll love you, but he will not be as attracted to you.
Mm-hmm.
And I can tell from my own experience that when I've dealt with girls that did dress up, I found myself more gravitated towards them. And that's the thing. I'll use my own personal experience. There was a girl I dealt with. She didn't like dressing up. Dressing up wasn't her thing. But with me, she did it. She hated it. But when she saw my level of attractiveness towards her and how I treated her, she started to like it. So it does go a long way, ladies. It goes a long way to show like that you take care of yourself. You know what I mean? That you like to look good.
Mm-hmm. And like what you're saying about like not necessarily wearing clothes. I think usually the women that I find the most feminine show the least. Usually.
Agreed.
Yeah. They just they don't need to show anything.
Yeah, they don't need to, because they still leave the mystery to the man.
Yes. Yeah.
So I think his point is pretty direct, and I know that there's going to be some people crying and screaming like, "Oh my God, no, looks shouldn't matter." Usually, the people that say that looks didn't matter are not that confident about themselves. Like, let's just keep that a buck, like, because to men, looks matter.
Yeah. And people judge. People are more judgmental than we think.
People judge. But they do. But no.
It is there. So to think that it doesn't matter, it does. And you're not giving yourself any service by. And
it sounds harsh and it sounds superficial, but no guy, and I'm talking about from a man's point of view, wants to feel like he's dating Oscar the Grouch. Men are very again, you are a reflection of him. So he wants to know that when you're not with him and you dress nice, they know. Like, if I'm dating a girl, I want people to know that's Mike's girl.
Yes. Oh, no. Oh, my God. That's my girlfriend there over there.
Yeah, not like, I want people to know, like, that's Mike's girl. Not like, oh, man, that's the girl that Mike's with. Ooh, like, what happened? You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? You want, it's the same with her. Women want to know that when they pick a guy, they're like, damn, like, that's her guy.
Mm-hmm.
Not like, oh, like, that's her guy. That's her guy. Yes. That's what you chose.
Apparently,
you know what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. And nobody wants to date someone that they're going to be embarrassed of.
Yeah, and that, that person represents you, like what you're saying, right? So
no. Well,
you're always going to pick someone that closely reflects how you want to be represented.
Exactly. And you don't want to be embarrassed of your partner. You don't want to know, like, oh, babe, like, if we're out in public, tell people you're my sister or something. Like, you don't want that. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's embarrassing. I'm not saying, ladies, you got to show skin. I'm not saying you got to do. We're not here to tell you what to wear and what not to wear. Mm-hmm. We're here to tell you to, like, one of the traits to help you be a feminine woman is men care about looks.
Yes. So visuals is important, and to make it work for you. Yeah.
Yeah. Highlight your attributes.
Yes.
That's it. Nobody's asking you to look like Kim K. Mm-hmm. Highlight your attributes.
And that's not wearing like caking makeup or anything like that.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's what he talked about.
Huh?
Well, that's what he talked about, the differences, because there are some women, the makeup comes off and you're like, I'm dating a transformer. What the hell happened? Like, you saw one thing and then the next thing you got something else, and you're like, whoa.
Where's so and so, right? Like, no, I am that person, right?
Yeah, like, that transformer noise where the doot, 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 that's what you got.
Stop it.
That's what you got. And nobody signs up for that. So, you know what I mean? It's like if you were dating a guy and he looked like he was in shape, right? And then he took his shirt off and he was wearing a girdle, keeping all the body fat in, and took it off and it just kind of just flew out. You'd be like, you lied to me. You told me that you were in shape.
Yes.
So, you know what I mean? It's just something to consider. So, We're going to move on to the next point,
Okay.
but you know what I mean? These are all great points that we're talking
I
about.
just wanted to say natural isn't the same as dressed down. Okay. You can
What was
look
that?
natural and dress.
Yeah, natural beauty is the best beauty.
Yes.
It is,
Usually
100%.
that's what guys look for.
Yeah, natural beauty, 100%.
Natural. Yeah. Okay.
Next on the list of why masculine men love feminine women is that feminine women tend to exude more positive energy. All right. So again, remember what I said in the very beginning when we talked about feminine versus traditional. Traditional tends to speak to a lot of the behaviors, but feminine energy is more about what you're giving off. Okay. And so positive energy tends to be directly correlated to that. Like I can't think of a woman who's exuding feminine energy, but exudes negative energy at the same time. All right. That's usually not the case. She may have a very feminine presentation. So she may be wearing all girly stuff. She may be all done up, all that kind of stuff. So she looks very womanly, whatever you want to call it. But if she does not exude feminine energy from within, then her energy does not come out looking positive. It's going to come out more hard, more negative, all these things. And yes, for some of you may say, well, I still see that type of woman get a man all the time. Because as I said earlier, you got to understand that, you know, looks will still attract many men. And who a man will sleep with versus who a man will actually take serious and want to marry is two different things. And sometimes it is that energy that's going to swing it one way or the other. All right. So exuding more positive energy is definitely a common theme in the feminine woman. Now, here's the crazy part. I will acknowledge and admit to you that I have met women who exude feminine energy, right? But they got some negative energy in them, okay? And they got some things they've learned how to manage and push to the side. Now, I'm not encouraging that because I would encourage you to resolve that issue, right? But there are women out there who have mastered being able to kind of push that to the side, that negativity, and walk more in their feminine energy. And they know when to allow themselves to bring it out where it won't work against them as much, so to speak. All right. But again, that's not healthy because the average person cannot properly manage that. The average woman, if you're holding on to negativity like that, it's going to come out and it's going to come out at the worst time. And it can completely derail your relationship. That's why you'll see some situations where you'll see this woman that presents herself as very feminine and she's still struggling in relationships. And some of y'all may think, oh, well, it's these men. It's because dating is so hard. But what you don't know in many situations, I won't say all, is that behind closed doors, she's a menace. She is more difficult than you can ever imagine. She just knows how to not show that when she's walking around in the streets. When I say in the streets, walking around, you know, being out and about at work, all these things. But behind closed doors, it's a different story. And so a lot of men end up, so they're drawn in, but they end up running later because they can't deal with it. All right. And so with that said, I want to encourage all of you to heal. If you don't know, you may know already, I have the book Love After Heartbreak, but even better, I want you to check out my group coaching program, which gives you all the steps to healing. It gives you steps on how to tap into your feminine energy, how to meet more relationship-minded men, how to find your purpose. There's a whole slew of things. We do live Q&As. I answer your personal questions. This is an opportunity for you to really get that transformation. That again, it's not about just men. It's about you being happier, you living a higher quality of life. So you can go to receivingmyblessings.com or click the link in the description or in the comments section. But yes, healing from the past is going to help you immensely in, yes, exuding positive energy, but also getting back in touch with your feminine energy and being able to more consistently walk in it. All right, so let's keep this.
I have a lot to say when it comes to this.
Okay, tell me.
I've met some women. I have feminine on the outside, dresses very feminine, Princess Peach on the outside, Donkey Kong on the inside. and it's a lot to deal with, man. Like it is so much because it's like they're so negative, the way they speak, the way they conduct themselves. You know, like I'll talk to some women and they're talking like a dude, like a negative dude. They're like, oh, like this person is the B word, and or like they're like yo this, and just their energy is, you're just like, whoa,
Like they're condescending and
no, just whoa. Like
okay.
it's just, as he says, like you have to learn how to manage it. Because if in the workplace you can keep a lid on it, you should be able to keep a lid on it in your relationship.
Mm-hmm.
That's always been a thing for me. It's so funny how people can act rude and crass in a relationship, but at work they don't act that way because they know they'll get fired.
Mm-hmm. It could also be how they've learned to define what a relationship is. You know, if you grow up in a unhealthy environment and that's how you grew up, you think that's normal.
Yeah, but being negative all the time, like I love that he brought that up.
Yeah.
Part of being feminine is being positive. We're not talking about happy-go-lucky Xanax on drugs happy. We're talking about like being happy, because happiness is something that you create.
Yes.
Happiness comes from within.
Yes.
And we're not saying that you can't have bad moments. Nobody's saying that.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody's talking about perfection. What we are talking about as women is being positive during negativity.
Yeah. And you know, you can think of it this way. When you're a mother, when you mother kids, you're always trying to encourage them, right?
Yeah.
You always want to be supportive, encouraging them and being positive, like, oh, you can do it. It's basically that. You can translate it to that, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's how I see it. So when you're a mother, you're in your feminine energy. That's the idea, right? So it's not that you're talking to your partner as a child. You're just trying to take that supportive energy and translate it into your intimate relationship.
And not be as negative.
And not by not being negative, but by being supportive and being positive.
Because when a woman's so beautiful, but she's so negative, you don't want to date her. And I love
around that all the time.
And I love what he brought up. There's a difference between a man wanting to have sex with you and a man wanting to commit to you.
That's two.
And that is facts. Because, and again, I'm going to drop some gems. I'm going to drop the hammer here. A lot of women are complaining that the men are leaving. Maybe it's just because of your attitude. Maybe he only sees this girl has a bad attitude. I'll smash, but I am not committing to her. Mm-hmm. And that's where you're losing.
Mm-hmm. Because the whole thing is, if you're committing, that means that you want to have an ongoing relationship with them. And there's like there's a connection, there's like a bond, right?
Yeah.
That if you're just smashing, it's like, okay, you smash and then that's it, right? Like you.
No, I agree with you.
Leave it behind, right?
But imagine if the girl has a negative attitude. The first thing in the man's mind is going to be like, I'm going to have to commit to this. And he's automatically turned off, but he will still smash.
Yes, because
he'll never commit.
You're going to use up what's there in some regards, right? Like, I'm going to take what's there, but I'm not going to commit to it because I don't want to take that with me.
And exactly. And that's what I'm trying to help you ladies understand. I don't want guys treating you like bubble gum. I don't want guys chewing you out and then spitting you out. I don't want them doing that to you. But if you have a bad attitude, that's what's going to happen to you.
Yes.
Especially if you're good looking, but you have a bad attitude, the guy's going to be like, oh, I'll endure it for a couple nights, smash and then spit her out like gum.
Yeah.
And then you're sitting there wondering, well, why did this person ghost me? Or why did this happen? Now, sometimes some things are out of your control. But if we're being honest, could be your attitude. Something to look at.
Often it's that.
Yeah, often it's that.
Often. Yes.
Going. This is number 5, and this is a very important one. Another reason why masculine men love feminine women is because she knows how to speak to him. And let me put in parentheses, she is not loud and aggressive. Okay? So Here's the thing. A masculine man does not want to come home to another man. Okay. And so if you are coming off too hard, too aggressive, too difficult, again, all that translates into very negative energy for someone in a relationship. And who wants to be around that? It's one, it's not healthy. It's not healthy for you. It's not healthy for him. It's not healthy for the relationship. And it just creates more problems. So the reality is that feminine women tend to learn and master how to speak to a man. An example I love to give is, have you ever met a woman who everyone she talks to is baby, honey, sweetheart? And I always say, have you ever seen that woman have a hard time getting a man to do her a favor? No. She could have somebody cutting her grass, painting her house, taking her car into the mechanic, carry her groceries, whatever she needs, she's going to have someone being able to do it for her. Why? Because she knows how to talk to a man in a way that makes him more receptive to you. We become, I don't want to use the word suckers, but we become very open to women who talk sweet and soft to us. Now, again, I know some of you are thinking, well, I did that and it did not work. That is just proof of a man who you should not have been dealing with. And that's proof of a man who probably has some deeper issues he needed to resolve. Outside of those situations, the average man is going to respond more positively to you learning how to speak to him or knowing how to speak to him. A woman who knows how to speak to a man can get away with so much. Not that I'm trying to tell you to learn this to get away with things, but I'm just saying like that's how much power is behind it. And it's really just about being more soft in the way you speak to him. Again, it reminds me, there's another TikTok I just saw earlier where it was a woman confronting a man who I guess was cheating on her. And this story is not to validate cheating. But the woman was like, why her? You know, what did she do that I don't do? What's the problem? And then he was like, she knows how to speak to me. She's soft to me. She doesn't yell at me. She encourages me. She believes in me. He was just going down this list of things, but it all boiled down to she knows how to communicate with him in a way that doesn't make him shut down, that allows him to open up, that allows him to feel safe emotionally around her. Because I think sometimes we highlight the need for a woman to feel safe with a man emotionally, but sometimes we overlook that men need that same safety. And when you're coming off too aggressive, harsh, negative, you destroy that safety. All right. And this tends to cause men or contribute, I don't want to put it all on the woman, but contribute to men shutting down. All right. So learning how to talk. And if you are struggling with that level of communication, then again, I would argue, what are you holding on to and you haven't healed from? What negative energy is festering within you that does not allow you to speak softly and with love to a man that you are dating or in a relationship with or are married to? All right. There's something there that's blocking your ability to do this. We have to address that and resolve that and flush that out of your system. I want to also say, don't just wait for the man you're dating or you're with to practice how to speak. Notice in the example I gave you, I said the woman who uses terms of endearment does it with everyone. She does it with women. She does it with men, kids, pets. It don't matter. Okay. So for you, practice with everyone. You don't have to wait for a man. If you got kids, practice being softer with your kids the way you speak to them. I know some of y'all might think, well, nothing will get done if you're softer. I beg to differ. I think if you actually really turned on the charm and feminine energy, you might be shocked how much more you get out of your kids. Show them more love and sweetness and see what happens. But kids, coworkers, friends, you name it, practice, because the more you practice with them, the more comfortable you will be and the more second nature it'll be for you when you are with a man. All right, so we got.
I agree with him, flat out.
Yeah.
It's more attractive to a man when the woman knows how to speak to him.
Mm-hmm.
She doesn't berate him. She doesn't belittle him. She knows how to talk to him with gentleness, tenderness, love, and all those things. It can go a long way.
Mm-hmm. And it goes back to them feeling valued. And
Exactly.
being
And
heard.
it goes a long way, as in the sense of, we all know that relationships are not perfect.
Yes.
And during the imperfect parts, she still holds feminine frame.
Mhm.
Because I like what he brought up there. He said, you should practice on how to do that all the time. So that means if you're only know how to soft speak when times are good, but when times are bad, you're out of line, that means it's selective femininity.
Mhm.
I will only be feminine with you when things are good, when you're doing things for me, whenever. But when stuff goes the other direction, you're getting the beast.
The Donkey Kong.
Yeah, that Donkey Kong beast. And it's like, at the end of the day, you know what I mean? That's how sometimes how a lot of women are losing their men. They don't know how to speak to him with gentleness and femininity. They're letting their emotions override. They're letting their emotions take over. They're saying things that they shouldn't be saying. And during those moments, and I'm going to point this out very respectfully, when a woman knows how to talk to a man, it shows high levels of respect. And men value respect. So if you're not speaking to him, like as he said, like when you know how to talk to a man and you're not talking to him in respectful ways, he shuts down. He does not care anymore. He checks out. What you have to say does not hold any weight anymore. He doesn't care about your feelings anymore because, again, you've pushed him to the point where he's checked out.
And that's the last thing you want, because then that connection is that bond. You know, there's like
It's gone.
there's a fracture in it.
Yeah, exactly. It's gone.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. I was with my mom. I was explaining to her this, but she's been practicing. You know, like when you're out, you be kind to people. You know, talk to them kindly. People want to help or want to do things for people that are being nice to them.
yeah, and it's not conditional. It's genuine.
Yeah, if you can be genuine, and people will go above and beyond. But it's that same principle, but using in your own relationship. And I like that he said, you know, practice it outside with
everybody.
with everybody, because then it just becomes second nature.
Agreed.
You know, there's no right time to start. You can start now.
You start now.
Yeah.
Well, we only got 2 more points left, guys. Please like, share, subscribe. We only got 2 more points left, and then we'll send up our conclusion. But thank you for spending this hour with us, guys. I know we've been going on, but thank you for spending the hour with us. We greatly appreciate it. And please share this video with people. I know some people might take the video offensively. Oh, I don't need to change it. We're not here to ask you to change. We're only here to elevate you. That's it. That's what it is. We open the conversation to elevation.
A couple more to go. And another reason why masculine men love feminine women is because feminine women tend to limit the drama. Okay. So again, kind of piggybacking off of what we just discussed, knowing how to speak to a man, not being so aggressive and harsh and negative. Well, what we tend to forget sometimes is that kind of energy, that kind of tone is what in many cases helps create drama. All right. One person starts to get negative, the other person reacts, and it goes from there. And when I say limiting drama, I don't just mean with that man himself. I'm talking about in your life in general. Because if you are a woman who is constantly either inserting yourself, creating, taking part of drama, that is going to be draining to a man. And the reality is that feminine women understand the need to protect their peace and protect their spirit. They will shy away from the drama. They don't want to be a part of it because they know that drama will throw them off. It will cause unrest within them. It will add stress to them. They're trying. When you learn to walk in your feminine, you learn to walk in a more peaceful place internally, mentally. All right. Nobody's perfect. It doesn't mean you won't have a moment of drama. We all have, times where we may get sucked into it or we fall into certain traps, but it's not a consistent thing. It's not constant. But women who are very detached from their feminine, and listen, I know some of y'all may think, well, I know someone, or maybe you, who's maybe not the most feminine, but I don't do drama neither. Okay, cool. That's great. That helps. But understand that there is a greater chance of you falling into it when you're holding more onto your masculine than you are your feminine. All right. This is kind of hitting my spirit now. I don't want to say this is completely accurate, but I'm going to say what I'm feeling. The masculine when a woman is carrying masculine, she is more prone to escalating. When she is carrying her feminine, she is more prone to de-escalating. All right. So it's like the masculine wants to meet the challenge. Oh, you ain't going to talk to me like that. Boom, 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 boom. We going at it. The feminine is like, hey, chill, relax, let's calm down. Boom, boom. It's trying to bring peace about the situation. So that's why being more your feminine increases the chances of staying away from those types of things or understanding how to better diffuse it, which then goes back to how you talk to your man. Because now when something happens, you will be better equipped to diffuse him rather than add fuel to the fire. All right. Now, in fairness, this is something that I encourage men to do as well. So it's not a one-sided thing, learning how to diffuse rather than pour more fuel in the fire when your partner is upset or the case may be. But again, we're focused on women and femininity. So I want you to embrace that because that's going to be helpful, again, no matter who you're dealing with. All right. So we got one.
I agree right off the bat. Women that are very dramatic are exhausting.
Oh yeah,
they are exhausting as hell because they are so detached from their femininity and they're so in their masculine. It's just tiring. And the thing is, it's not like we don't have drama, but when their drama is consistent drama, oh, it is like a soap opera, never ending, and you're waiting for next week's episode.
And what season are you on?
Thank you. That's what it feels like. It feels like women who are into drama. It's like The Bachelor or The Bachelorette. You're just like, oh my gosh, like
it's not
your life. It's so dramatic. Yeah. Why?
Mm-hmm. Well, I don't think they know why.
And I love what he said. Feminine women protect their peace.
Yeah, and I like how you said about feminine energy diffuses.
Yes. Masculine energy escalates. So as men, we got to learn to like tone it down. But it's true. Like when a woman's like, oh my God, like, did you hear about Sally? Or, oh my God, like this guy doesn't like me. Or like, you're just like, yo, knock it off.
Yeah.
Your life, go fix it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's why I always try to tell men, know what you're signing up for. She could look so feminine on the outside, but then when you sign your name on the dotted line to say, I'm going to commit to you, and then next thing you know, drama after drama after drama.
Mm-hmm.
And you signed up for it.
Yeah, but there's usually going to be signs leading up to that.
100%.
Yeah.
But that's why you can't fall for the okie doke. A lot of guys will say, well, she looks so feminine on the outside, but there's so many, I don't want to say like red flags, but like so many like things that need to be addressed.
Yes.
That they ignore it and they still move forward anyways.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's a problem. It's like, oh, she's so beautiful. She's so wonderful, but she doesn't know how to speak to you. She's not gentle in her spirit. She's rude and aggressive, not surrendering. It's like, what do you see in this girl?
Well, the potential, perhaps, or they're being hopeful. Maybe.
Well, you know what? I'm sorry. I'm going to say it. A piece of shit is still a piece of shit. You can't polish a piece of shit. I'm sorry for my language.
You can dress it up, put makeup on it, but at the end, it's still.
We're not going to sit here and take a piece of shit and make cheesecake.
Mm-hmm.
We're not.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Excuse my language, but it's just facts.
Yes. No, it's a Snickers bar. What are you talking about?
Yeah, exactly. We're not going to get that. So this whole like, I'm dating for people to polish them because of their potential. Well, again, you don't pick up gum off the street and say, well, there's still flavor in it.
Yeah.
Like,
well, it's going to be a losing battle on your part because you can't change people. People can only change themselves. So
exactly. So we got one more point, guys.
Yes.
And then we're going to wrap up our summary. Yes. And then we have a few announcements. And then, yeah.
One more, and the final reason why masculine men love feminine women is because feminine women are more willing to embrace a man's lead. Now, I know some of y'all are thinking, why the hell I gotta let him lead? Why can't we lead together? What's the problem? Or why can't I lead? What's the issue here? There's a lot to talk about with the whole lead thing. I was supposed to do it already. I'm gonna do it at some point, breaking down why you gotta let the man lead. And remember, understand, I do not push men leading out of a way to oppress women, okay? Or to cause any damage to women or to abuse women in any kind of way. I push it as a way that is gonna allow both the man and woman to flourish in that relationship, all right? And you've got to understand to look at it like this, because remember, we're highlighting masculine men. Masculine men have learned already in their life how to lead, okay? They've already learned how to assert themselves. They've learned how to make decisions, all these things. So for him to now come into your life and take a complete back seat, one, that's going to be very difficult for a masculine man, truly masculine, because there's a lot of men claiming, I'm masculine, I'm tough. No, they're not. No, they're not. They haven't fully evolved. That's not shade to them. It's just the reality of it. A lot of men think there's something that they're not at the moment, and they still have some growth to do. But a truly masculine man is going to have a difficulty with that. Now, it doesn't mean he's not supposed to work with you, not supposed to consider your feelings, care about how you think and how you feel and want your input. Those are all things that I encourage and push men to do. But ultimately, to tell him to take the back seat constantly is going to, in most cases, create conflict. Not to mention, what are you setting yourself up for in the long term? What I have seen so many times, and now we can argue that this is, in this example, maybe the man was not truly masculine, but what happens is the man accepts that back seat, right? And starts to default to that back seat, to where now the burden is on the woman to always make decisions. The burden is on the woman to be assertive. And so, yes, you may have wanted that in that moment, but the average woman does not want that constantly ongoing for the rest of the relationship, because now it becomes a burden. And there's going to be times where you wish he would just make the decision. And now he's so accustomed defaulting to you, he doesn't know how to walk in it anymore. And now that same man who may have at least looked masculine to you initially starts to look weak to you. You start to lose respect for it. And now it just all comes crumbling down from there. So it's important that we understand why this dynamic is healthy for both sides. But to get back to the point, yes, the feminine woman understands or is more willing to embrace that and does not take the man leading as some insult to her. It's not some sign of or view of she's inadequate and can't handle this. No, it's a matter of, you know what? He's taking on that burden out of love. He's leading with love. He's showing me, yo, I got you. I'm going to take care of this. Again, still talking to you, still considering how you feel, but let me take care of you, baby. Let me handle this for you. You know what I'm saying? While you go flourish in the other areas that you are good at or whatever. And yes, there may be some moments where he says, where y'all agree, hey, you know what? You know better than me in this type of situation. You take the lead on this, right? But there's still an understanding of, in general, he's leading the relationship, and that feminine woman is okay with that. She's able to now, and here's the big reason why she's okay with that, because letting him lead allows her to rest more in her feminine. Mm-hmm. Plain and simple. If she tries to take that away from him, she now is putting the more masculine energy on herself. That's going to completely ruin things for her and the relationship. So learning to get comfortable in that. And again, I have to say one more time, if you say to me, I did that and the man failed, that is an example of the wrong man, not the wrong approach. All right. So that just means that man was not ready for that position. Get rid of him, or he's not ready to be in a relationship right now. But don't stop embracing that principle, because it is what will make you happier in the long run. Hey.
Okay, I think we'll have a lot to talk about on this last point. I tell men to not deal with women who don't want to be led.
Mm-hmm.
Personally.
Mm-hmm.
Because you don't have to ask a woman to follow you. When she sees how masculine you are, not by you beating your chest, but when she sees your characteristics,
Mm-hmm.
how masculine you are, how you handle business, how you lead in your own life, she automatically wants to follow.
Mm-hmm.
And if she doesn't want to follow, or she's difficult, as he says, women who are like difficult and don't want to follow a man, or they get like, oh, you're misogynist, it's 50-50, this partnership shenanigans, whatever it is, I tell guys to run, because there's going to be always, and he said it himself, there's going to be a huge amount of resistance. And it's just not worth it at that point. You know what I mean? For me, it sounds exhausting. And I know that we're in 2023 and people don't like to say, well, why does the man have to lead? And why can't the woman lead?
Mm-hmm.
You can let the woman lead, but the woman becomes the head of the household, and now it creates problems.
Well, then you don't have a feminine woman. That's what happens.
Exactly. You don't have
They
a
all
feminine
tie in
woman.
together. Yeah. Because
But then it also creates problems now, because the household is being led with masculine energy from the female, but that female operates still in emotions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and also you have two cooks in the kitchen, so you know.
Exactly. And
you can't have two people leading.
Exactly. And I know that people don't like that. They don't like to hear that. But I always try to tell guys, deal with women who want to be led. That level of surrendering goes a far ways. Guys, most of my friends, my inner circle, are married men. And I told Christelle this, within a week's window or even within a day, they surrendered to those men. And now that they surrendered to those men, they're married to them. My best friend since I was 12, married. My other best friend since I was 12, married for 15 years. My other best friend, married for 12 years. And within a small window, those girls surrendered. Those women surrendered to those men. They didn't question their leadership. They weren't like, well, I don't know. They trusted them 100%. They're like, I'm going to follow you. And it is the most attractive thing that a man gets from a woman when she surrenders to him, because now he says, you know what? I need to protect and provide. He was already doing that in his life before for himself, but now he takes on the extra burden of love and says, I need to protect and provide even more. Because when a woman fully surrenders, she's fully vulnerable. And that's all I have to say. I'm going to let Christelle take over the rest, but that's all I have to say.
No, it's perfect. I'm just saying, it gives them a purpose, right? It all comes back to that.
Exactly.
It gives them the purpose.
And
right?
then that resistance, it's just like, ugh, like why?
Mm-hmm.
So is there anything you want to add, Christelle, before we wrap up the show?
Yeah, it was just I think the biggest takeaway that I got from his video, if you put all the 7 points together, is if women are finding it a challenge to be in their femininity, it would be that you probably need to do some healing and personal work.
I agree.
Overcome or to resolve past maybe traumas or programming or whatever it is that you are struggling with.
I would say experiences that they've had that have created a wound. Yeah. And that wound is bleeding into their present day relationships. Yes. That's exactly how I look at it. Like, I get it. We've all been hurt. Things that will happen to us, but it should never affect your femininity.
Yeah, they're holding on to it, right? So you have to learn to let go, and by letting go, then you can further move into your femininity, because letting go is the flow, is allowing, right?
Exactly. And you know what I'm going to say? Constant femininity is going to get you the man you want.
If you're looking for a masculine man, absolutely.
Yes. Consistent femininity and not conditional, genuine femininity and consistent femininity will get you the man that you want. I can promise you that. Because he will see that as such a rare gem, because again, not all women, we're not trying to make blanket statements here, but most women come with a lot of masculine energy, dramatic, as he said, don't want to follow a man's lead. So if he naturally meets a woman who is genuinely feminine, genuinely wants to follow his lead, that's a diamond right there.
So cherish that diamond.
Exactly.
And a woman can be a diamond. She just needs to be intentional with her actions.
Exactly. And
Yes.
polish out the edges.
Yes.
Yes.
And these 7 tips are very simple.
Yeah, they're
not
simple.
Complicated. They're easily applicable.
They're only easily applicable to the person that wants to apply them, because there's some people, they're going to hear this and all they're going to hear is ego.
Yes.
Especially the last point. Well, why should a man have to lead? Or why should I not be Donkey Kong and speak however I want to speak? No one's saying, and I want to make this very clear, no one's saying that you can't do those things. You want to be loud, you want to be crass, you want to talk however you want to talk. You know what I mean? You want to not let a man lead. You can do whatever you want, but I can guarantee you this: you're not going to like your outcomes. You're not going to get the men that you want.
Yes.
And that's what I want to make very clear. No one's here to tell you what to do. If that's how you are, be how you are. But I love this, and I bless this man because of this. As Kevin Samuel says, if you're not getting the outcomes you want, you're losing.
You're not. There's something you're missing if you're not getting what you
exactly. So if you're not getting the men you want, you're losing. But anyways, guys, look, I want to wrap up the show because we had you for an hour and 30 minutes. Thank you so much, Christelle, for being on the show. It's always a pleasure. It's always a pleasure to bounce ideas off of you and have these conversations. I have 2 announcements, guys. We have an Avengers panel coming up this Friday with me, Christelle, Devontae, and Jillian, talking about a peaceful person over a perfect person. You definitely don't want to miss that. A lot of people are looking for perfection, and they end up missing out on their person because they're looking for perfection and not peace. I don't want to get too much into it, but you definitely don't want to miss the panel. It's Friday at 7 p.m. You're going to see all 4 of us on here, and we're all going to have a crazy conversation for an hour.
Can't wait.
And then I also have a special announcement for you guys as well. I'm actually going to be taking a course to become a full-time relationship coach. I'm actually going to become certified relationship coach within the next 6 months. So I'll be taking a very vigorous course, and I will be certified. I will be taking people on as clients, coaching, all that other stuff. You'll have my fees, speaking gigs, all of it. So I'll be taking a course to become a certified relationship coach. No more just, talking left, but you guys are going to get a full-on professional. So that is everything for the night. I really appreciate everybody that tuned in. As I said, please like, share, subscribe, and please follow Christelle down on her YouTube channel, down on her Facebook. Reach out to her, talk to her, and can't wait for the All-Star panel this Friday.
Thank you.